L'chaim v'livracha, to life and to blessings. Oh, I'm not certain what wakes me up more. Actually, I am certain. Is it the coffee or is it learning together? No question, the learning together. Because sometimes I don't get the coffee and the learning, phew, the wake up. So a wake up of the soul, a wake up call for life. Absolutely. Amazing. Day in, day out of learning together in a manner that every day we we're walking on a cloud, if you will, right? At least when we're learning in that moment, all of the challenges of life, all of the difficulties, the pain that we might be feeling, if we're really learning the way we need to learn, they're gone. We don't feel it. We rise above it because the word of Hashem's Torah, and in particular the study of Tanya, is so powerful that it just rises, we rise up beyond the human condition. And we start understanding the world the way God understands the world. Oh, imagine. The nature of the human being is that you want to understand. You want to understand yourself. You want to understand people around you. You want to understand the world around you. You even want to understand God. But all of that understanding is coming from our own minds and how we perceive and how we come to know things around us. And excuse me, and all the more so when it comes to knowing God. So, of course, our perception of God will be very limited and ultimately will not be true. It's only when God comes to us and he says, here's my wisdom. Learn it. When you learn his wisdom, so he's giving a piece of him in his wisdom. Giving that piece of him, now we can now understand him the way he is giving himself over to us. Therefore, his wisdom becomes my wisdom. His perspective on life becomes my perspective. Do you want to shut the door there? There you go. Right? It becomes my perspective on life, which is very powerful. That's unique. That only happens in the Torah because the Torah is God's wisdom. But in particular, where this is in, excuse me, Kabbalistic teachings, and in particular of the Kabbalistic teachings, really Hasidic teachings of Chabad. Because the Kabbalah is not necessarily something you can truly understand, but Chabad teachings, of Hasidic teachings that incorporate the Kabbalah, incorporates all parts of the Torah, gives us a deep, true understanding of the way God thinks himself. Wow. And we get this every day. To be able to learn this every day gives us a chance to really be on top of the mountain, gives us a chance to be inside of the divine wisdom, that it becomes something that we grasp and it grasps us. And that truly changes us from within. When we have that awareness and then we allow it to feed our emotions as much as it will feed our emotions, but most importantly, the garments of the soul, the self-expression of the soul, which is our actions, that our actions are different, our conversation, our speech is different, and our willful, cogitated thoughts are different as a result. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad Zuch Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We conclude today the fourth essay of Kuntres Achrei. 1 week today, we will be starting everything anew from the beginning of Tanya. From the first book, we're now finishing off the fifth book. We'll start the first book in 1 week today. Next Monday will be the conclusion of Tanya. And then the following day is the beginning. You conclude, you start again the cycle. Next cycle, will begin the 20th cycle that we will be learning, that I've been teaching publicly, will be the 20th cycle, teaching every day publicly, or almost every day. So, in concluding the fourth essay, we're speaking about the love and awe of the soul versus the act of a mitzvah versus the study of Torah. So we're going to get a little Kabbalistic over here. Everything of this world is an animation from God himself. Everything begins with Or Ein Sof, the infinite light of God. The question is, from there, how does it devolve? How does it move forward from there, that light of God, right? As opposed to, so in godliness, there are many different dimensions and levels. So we have the infinite of God. Everything begins there. From there, it comes into beyond the worlds, Keser, just like a crown. Keser means crown. The crown is beyond the person. So metaphorically, beyond the world, beyond emanation of God, is the will of God and the pleasure of God. That's already saying something, right? When you say Or Ein Sof, you're saying infinite, you're saying nothing. In the sense there's no boundary, there's no limitation, there's no definition. Once you start saying, oh, a will, oh, pleasure, you're already a will towards something, a pleasure of something, right? It already has some kind of parameter and definition. That parameter and definition is still very encompassing, just as a person's will is very encompassing. And then it goes into the world of emanation. In the world of emanation, you have, which is the world of Atzilus. It's a divine world. It's not a creation yet. It's the emanation of God, not the creation of God. And you have there attributes, 10 attributes, 3 intellectual, Chabad, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge, 7 emotional. And each an emotion or intelligence is made up of 2 components, basic 2 components, light and vessel, right? A vessel that contains, and the light that that is in the container, right? Body and soul is another metaphor to use it, but Kabbalistic terms is light and vessel. And they fuse together as one, even though here, my coffee and the cup, it's not one with the cup, right? Because this is, in the world of Atzilus, it'd be one with the cup, right? Or actually be one with the Ein Sof. But the Ein Sof, the cup and the coffee, be one with the Ein Sof in Atzilus. In this world, it's separate. Not only separate from each other, but we'll get more into that, right? Actually, very good metaphor. So yeah, in the world of Atzilus, it's all one. Yeah? That's clear? So now you have that power of God that comes through Atzilus, through the divine attributes, but specifically it's Malchus. It's the last one of the 10. Royalty, that is the particular power of creator, as the king is there in service of the people. So God as king is there in service of creation, right? And in there, it's vessel. Now, vessel has 3 dimensions to it: the outside, the inside, and the middle, coupled with 10 attributes. So you get 30 dimensions of a vessel. Light, it's got 3 dimensions: nefesh, ruach, neshama. The nefesh level of light, the ruach, and neshama. In the world of Atzilus, it's all divine. But as it comes down into creation, right? As it comes down into creation, and to create now, the first world is Bria. Second world is Yitzira. Third world is Asiya, all spiritual. And then finally, this physical world of Asiya. As it comes down, so this cup, the vessel, is no longer united in one with the divine. It's now a thing. A thing means it's a something. Something means, if you're bound up in one with God, you're nothing. You're just bound up with your source. You're just a reflection of your source, emanation of your source. That's all you are, right? But in creation means independence, selfhood, right? So what aspect is the selfhood? Well, the entire vessel in Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, and in this world, right, of all creation, all aspects of creation, all 3 dimensions are separate, are part of creation. The light, even the nefesh and ruach level of the animating force. Remember, this is God's power of animation, vessel and light, through an attribute of God, right? Through God's kindness that he creates, right? So as it comes down into the world of Bria, Yitzir, and Asiya, that the dimension of the vessel component and nefesh and ruach are now creative things, right? Only neshama level of the light is still one with its creator, right? Only it's one. That clear? Because the power of the Ein Sof, of the infinite of God, always has to be there, just as the power of God is always there, not removed. The question is, in what dimension is it? It's only the neshama light that is in the power of God's kindness, or malchus, his royalty, that is now bound up in the divine source. But the vessel that contains it and the other dimensions of light are no longer wholly one with their source in the Ein Sof. That clear? Very abstract. We're getting Kabbalistic over here. All right? I hope you're able to follow and stay tuned. Okay? Is that?
So that what I can is the lower.
The lower you go, this is so much separate from God. You see a cup with the coffee. Do you think God? No. Oh, it smells good. Too strong. Right? You don't perceive God. You have to think, that God animates this. Why? Is because this is a vessel with light that is so down the totem pole, so far removed, that the neshama level of the light that's animating, that's one with the Ein Sof, is so much in a klipa, in a shell, that we don't perceive it.
And we can't, of course, we are also in that same dimension.
Right? Exactly. We can't. Well, we can because we can because we're physical people. Holy people are not. No, holy people are not the same. Holy people perceive. They perceive. That's why they're holy. That's why there's only holiness could be through those who study Torah. It's not possible any other way. Because holiness is to be able to perceive the perception of God. Well, and that was my prelude to what we spoke about right before getting into this, right? That as much as a human being tries to understand God, you'll never understand anything about God except from your dimension, because you're seeing it from your perspective. Torah gives you the possibility that you can see it from God's perspective. So holy people, they not just learn it, they live that perspective. They perceive that perspective. They perceive that perspective. Is that clear? We learn it. We don't perceive it. Mashiach will come, we'll perceive it. Is that clear? That's very powerful. That's why real holy people are only those who study Torah, and it's only from the Jewish people, that real sense of holiness. It can't be anybody else. Because anybody else, holiness doesn't mean that they're goody shoes, that they're all so kind and they use such niceness. No, because they're doing it from a human perspective, which is great. It's not taking away from any human being. You're being human. That's not holy. Holy means that you live the way God sees the world, not the way a human being sees the world. That's holy. That's righteousness. That's a Rebbe. You only do that with the power of Torah that is so much a part of them, so much that they live it. Very powerful idea, right? Which, by the way, just brings any notion that anybody outside of the Jewish people that are not scholars of the Torah. It's not about scholarship. Obviously, you need to be a scholar. Holy people are not just scholars. They're holy. They live it. They see it. They perceive it. They perceive it, right? As one of the mentors of the Alter Rebbe was Mendel Haradoker, that he made Aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. That's where he was sending tzedakah to help him and his chassidim there in the Holy Land that was under the Ottoman Empire at the time, controlled by. And so once there was blowing of the shofar, blast of the shofar, and there was like I don't know if it was, people calling out, "Oh, Mashiach has come, Mashiach has come." He went to the window and he sniffed, said, "No, he hasn't come yet." So they ask a question, why do you have to go to the window to sniff? Why didn't he sniff in his room? Because in his room, it was Mashiach. God's presence was very palpable and real. He had to go to sniff the world outside of his domain, outside of what he lives with, to see what's going on in the world. And being such a righteous person, all he had to do was sniff the air, as the old expression goes, right? A different kind of sniffing of the air. That's holy people. This is beyond us. Like, this is like, whoa. Okay, is that clear? Now, based on that was the easy part, by the way, that was a background for the easy part to understand now some Kabbalistic teachings over here that the Alter Rebbe brings. That are very difficult. It says in Eitz Chaim, Shayechudim, that an neshama garment is formed through the Torah study, and a ruach garment of Yetzirah, and a ruach of neshama garment and bria is formed through the Gemara study. So there's a problem over here. Why? What do we say is divine? Only the neshama level of the light, right? In the world of Bria Yitzira. And now in the Eitz Chaim, it's saying, oh, that when we study Torah, like if we're studying Mishnah, so then we're studying the Mishnah, which is the Ruach level. Ruach level is not divine. How could that be? Right? The Ruach level of the light is not divine. But you're studying Mishnah. How is that not divine? Right? So that's a contradiction to what we just explained. Right? That's what he's coming to explain. And the Gemara is the Gemara is the Ruach level of Neshama of not divine. How could that be? So he explains, he gives two explanations. One is that at Sinai, the Torah itself, the way it is given, it is Neshama level, right? In the world of Bria, the world of Yitzira. But the way a person learns it, it can already be the Ruach level. And why would it be then the Ruach level, right? Is because that's the whole point of the learning, is that through the learning, what you do is take the non-divine elements and you bring a rectification. You bring a birur, a refinement to that level of the divine or that level of creation that needs rectifying, that needs purification, that needs, right? How can you do that? Because even though it's a Ruach level, but the Ruach level, even though it seemingly it means that there's an independent created entity, that's what it means, right? But it shouldn't be looked that way. It should be looked as an emissary. Just like an angel, angels at times are called by God's name. How can be called God's name? They're created beings because they're emissaries of God. Sometimes they have their own name. Why? Because then they're independent. Why like this? Why like that? I don't know. Not for here in any case. The point being that sometimes an angel is called in God's name because they're an emissary of God. Right? Not independent. Emissary. So the same thing is over here. That level that we are learning Torah is, as it were, the emissary of the divine. At the same time, being an emissary, the whole point is that through our effort of learning, right, we then arouse in our effort of learning the way it's an emissary for the divine, meaning that we draw down through our study, ultimately all the way back to the Ein Sof, to the infinite of God. That's the ultimate point. And this is all based on us, that we can only do that. In other words, we, with our intent to study Torah, to connect to God, that even though the level of the learning might only be the Ruach level, which is not divine, but our intent is to connect to the divine, it becomes an emissary, shall you say, that level, to now bring our teachings and to connect it above in the divine and draw down into this world that divine level of the Ein Sof, of the infinite of God. And not only to bring the infinite of God into this world, but thereby to take the klipa, the shell, right, which would be the Ruach level. The Ruach level is not divine. That means it's klipa. That means it's a shell. It's covering over the divine. And we bring rectification. We bring refinement to the klipa of this world. Wow. Is that, you got that? That's very powerful. That's very Kabbalistic, right? Very powerful. And I hope you got it. Now, this is the ultimate purpose of the descent of creation, is that we, through here and speaking specifically about our study of Torah, as we're doing now, right? Even though we're engaging it on the level of Ruach, which is not divine, but we arouse through this, right? The divine above, all the way from Malchus of Atzilus to the Chabad of Atzilus, that becomes, Chachma becomes the recipient or the vessel to contain the Ein Sof, the infinite of God. And we draw that down into this world. And it means to draw down into this world and to actually bring a rectification, a cleansing of the klipa of that ruach level in this world. That's greater than the love and awe that angels have, or that we have, even the righteous have in this world. Because love and awe is about a state of departure. It's about me trying to get close to God. Right? And why do I want to do that? Is because my soul is bound up with God, and I want to remove myself from the klipa of within me, the klipa of beyond me, and to attach myself to Hashem, to kind of remove myself from a limited physical world. But that's departure. That's not as great as our Torah study. The Torah study is so great that even when you don't do it for the proper intent, right? When we don't do it with proper intent, we create angels. Even those angels who have the love and awe of God, right? We create them through our Torah study. It's pretty powerful, even when it's not done with the proper intent. Because that's how powerful the Torah study is, that it arouses above, the divine from above, to draw down here. The Dailem he concludes, and this will suffice for those who understand. If you don't understand, don't worry. Next year at this time, we'll learn it again. That's the end of the fourth essay. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? I hope this you got it somewhat. Even if you didn't get it all, if you got got a sense of it, that's a great beginning. Because I'm only starting to get a little bit of it, so it's taking me a long time. I'm a slow learner. Okay, I don't see any questions. 2 question marks, please. Put 2 question marks before. Okay, David has a question. Before you ask your question, so I could notice it, okay? So after the neshama passes away after 120, is the neshama once again bound up with its source? Not as much as it is down here. Does the neshama bring anything from the world to its source? Of course it does. It brings everything, all the mitzvahs that you did. All the mitzvahs you did are already there. They precede you coming there. They're already there. When you do a mitzvah, in order to connect to Hashem, and you do it with love and awe, motivated by understanding of God, and motivates the love and awe, then it'll go to the world of Bria. If you do it because of the natural instinctual nature of the soul to connect to God, then it'll go to the world of Yetzirah. Yeah, but it's already there. It's there to greet you. And that's what it means to make a garment. The garment of the mitzvah that you make is there to greet you in Gan Eden when you come there, that you will have just as garment is to protect you from the elements. It's cold here in Montreal. I put on my winter coat for the maybe the second time. To protect you from the elements. So the mitzvahs you do now protects you from the godly elements that are so powerful, even though they're only like a ray of light in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden. Alice Lifshut. Moshe was told that he could not know God at its essence. How much can we know of Hashem? Well, we have an opportunity to even know things that are, that Moshe didn't have a complete awareness because we have Tanya, and he didn't have the complete teachings of Tanya. Okay, amazing. Okay, I don't see any others. Okay, folks, Rambam coming up.